And we are back with Sly Cooper and the Thievius Raccoonus. We are moving on to the second half of Mugshot's area. I don't know, I feel like I kind of like this area too. There's not too much in this game I don't like, but I think that, this whole hotel lobby area is pretty cool with Mugshot's face there, which I think we're gonna... Yep.
Would you look at that ugly mug?
I am, and I find it infinitely fascinating.
Huh?
My X-ray detection devices reveal that a secret elevator to Muggshot's penthouse is contained within that giant head.
So how do we get in?
Behind this locked wall, there's a lever that summons the elevator. But you need all 7 keys to open it up.
I'm on it.
And if you were wondering if the formula established in Chapter 1 wasn't going to continue, yeah, it's 7 keys. Alright, well, I don't think I was planning on doing 2 to Tango first originally, but this is the one I happened across, so here we go. New type of mission that we'll see a couple of times throughout the game.
Are filthy. Well, they are the only way to get to the key, since my locator tells me it's in a jewel case somewhere near Muggshot's penthouse.
And that was just sloppiness on my part. Although, now that I think about it, I think there's... Is there only 2 of these Carmelita missions in the game? I think there might be.
Just walked into my crosshairs. Sly Cooper.
About time you showed up, Miss Fox. Was getting worried about you. Thought you took a wrong turn somewhere back in Paris.
The only one making wrong turns is you, Sly. I'd suggest you surrender before I paralyze you with my good friend, the shock pistol.
Now see, a girl whose best friend's a firearm's got issues. A little dinner, a little dancing. I think I can help you out.
Sounds romantic. As long as you don't mind dining in jail.
Nah, I hear the service is lousy.
Once I catch you, you'll know for yourself.
So yeah, I thought that it was kind of cool that they figured out this for keeping Carmelita a relevant presence throughout the game, rather than just... It would have been easy to relegate her to just showing up after a chapter is completed so she can arrest everybody. Which, as I recall, I want to say that it wasn't until the penultimate chapter of the original trilogy that that didn't happen. Sly comments at the end of Dead Men Tell No Tales that Carmelita didn't show up. Yeah, I think, oh, what was I supposed to say? Oh, don't have any anti-gravity yet, so that still hurts. The levels in here are a little bit more, when you're being hunted by Carmelita, the level design is a little bit more linear, but it's not that much harder. Her shots aren't that big of a deal. Those 2 are easy bottles to miss. I've always liked this part. Feels like they were playing around with some of the tech that they realized that they had, where they were like, oh wait, we can make it so that the pipe moves while he's climbing on it. And have the clothes come off of it. Have a little downtime here between pursuit sequences. Oh, well, the lagoon season is upon us again. Lagoon's open. If I'm gonna just sort of talk about something. So, yeah, I can, after a long drought, I can start riding roller coasters again. I might have mentioned it on previous playthroughs, but that's one of my other big interests is roller coasters, and closest park to us is Lagoon, so this is my first winter. It's spring now, but we're moving out of my first winter since becoming a roller coaster fan, so it's After months and months of being able to just head over to the park whenever you want, or even just on Saturdays, now you have to either take a trip somewhere or you're out of luck. So that's finally coming to an end, and I'm very happy. In January, I went on a trip to Orlando, went to Universal, SeaWorld, and Busch Gardens, and I don't know when I'll be taking another vacation, but chance to go to another park and ride some new coasters would be great. I'm thinking it might be Hershey Park. At least I hope it would be something like that. I do like how they have some different, like, the feel of the destruction of the different things that Carmelita is shooting, like the catwalk versus the ornamentation. It also seems like this area is where they're constructing a new casino, which is very interesting that they are putting up, like, chandeliers before they even have floors completed. Pursuit is over. She's just kind of on this sign in the background, I guess. So that jewel case for the key is weird. It's the only one that's different in the entire game. You have to whack it a whole bunch of times. I wonder why that is. Every other jewel case is the same, and there's just that one that's shaped like a fire hydrant. So I can only assume that they had planned on making some more that were kind of unique to each area, but then they stopped after just one, and they're like, eh, might as well use it. Here's another pretty standard level, although it has a couple of parts where it's very easy to miss bottles, and pretty much the only way to get them is to either die or restart the level, which I'm not a fan of. I very much prefer that you design things in a way that even if you miss it, you can still get it, even if it's a little bit more of a hassle. A little bit more of a hassle. You know, reward those that get it right on the first time, but not overly punish those that don't, either through ignorance or just, you know, kind of messing up. Here's a big one right here. And this is another one where it's easy to miss. So you don't have to come down here, I don't think, for anything. There might be a bottle or two. Actually, I don't think so. I think it's mostly just this horseshoe here. Which, if you have a golden horseshoe and you come across a place where there's, you know, one just sort of hanging out, I believe there's just nothing. I would have liked it if there was like an extra life, but there's not. But there's a lot of coins down here, so that can at least be helpful. So this part's kind of interesting. It's got these guys on the ground here, and it kind of feels like it might want you to go on the ground, although that you clearly can't. Did I remember to... I did not. Wow, you can knock the heads off of those dog statues, and I guess I just completely forgot about that. At this part, you can have Sly's tail hanging out from behind the barrier, and it doesn't catch you unless it's like his main body. But I still made an effort to try to obscure as much of him as possible, just because it felt right. I feel like this is one of the few times where they have bottles moving and not just on like a conveyor belt or something. It's kind of interesting. Wonder if they wanted to do it more. Oh, this one right here. Yeah, it's very easy to mess up and miss a bottle or two there, and then it's pretty close to the end of the level, so you have to either die or just start over and speed run through the rest of the level. That moment when you reach the vault and there's one bottle left and you're trying to remember if you missed one, you're worried if you missed one, or if it's just a little bit further away. Oh, had a fun little camera glitch there. So a second ago, we had Sly on a thin, like beam walking across it, but he was doing this back shuffle, which is interesting because the ability he gets in this level is the rail walk, but he basically just did it right there. So I'm wondering if they had him doing the rail walk there and then realized later that they were going to be giving him the ability at the end of this chapter. And but then rather than just making it like a steady ramp down, they just decided to make him crawl across it. Or perhaps they had the idea, hey, what if he shimmies across a thin foothold instead of against a wall? It wouldn't look that bad. And then they came up with a rail walk later, and this sort of fell through the cracks. I don't know. It's kind of weird. But right there, we also got the water safety. So now when we fall into water, we don't lose a charm. He still can't swim at all because, you know, it's useful for convenient for game design. But he doesn't. At least now, when he starts to drown, he doesn't lose a lucky charm along with it. This might honestly be my favorite level of this one. It's very iconic. We're up here on a skyscraper with the sign in the background. It's pretty cool. Also, another interesting gimmick of this level, which I think most levels in this game have an interesting gimmick, are the cars hanging off the side of the skyscraper for some reason. That each of them has a bottle on it, so you have to jump on, grab the bottle, and then jump off before the cable snaps. And I believe that if you do mess up, again, you either have to die or restart the level in order to respawn that car. So a couple of interesting things there. I believe that exchange is programmed to happen when you try and whack the glass and Sly's cane bounces off. And I think what might have happened is that I swung my cane near it. It didn't trigger that animation, but it was still close enough to trigger the cutscene. And also at the end, it's one of the few cutscenes in the game where you have to press X. It prompts you to press X to finish the dialogue. That's pretty rare. Most of them just end. Again, it's interesting seeing sort of the thought process here of like sort of a hodgepodge of what was probably earlier ideas or scrapped ideas that still managed to worm their way in. Before it feels like sequels are generally the ones that have all that stuff thoroughly codified, and you don't have those weird remnants just hanging around. Even though Sly 2 still has a little bit of that, because that was, well, it is a sequel, it does, it is the start of a very different style of Sly game, so really it's more like 3 that doesn't have any of those things and more just has a bunch of random ideas that they were coming up with just to try to prevent things from getting too stale. For some reason, I always associate this rooftop area with being able to get a lot of coins, so I take a little longer smashing stuff. I don't think that there's too many more than anywhere else, but that's just the way it feels. I do like how all of these letters have like their own movement patterns, so each one feels just a little bit unique, especially this one that drops down. Here's another one that's easy to miss. Those 2 bottles. It's always nice when a level has some kind of set piece in it so that you really remember it. Another reason I think this one stands out. And, you know, set piece not just in terms of, like, you know, something visual or static, like, you know, the sign, which is good, you want that, but also you want some sort of action set piece, which in this case could just be a tower, you know, a antenna tipping over. You know, a physical one and an action one is usually a pretty good match to create a well-rounded level. So there's our second intercom conversation with, or an announcement from Muggshot. And as a kid, again, I couldn't hear him too well, and I couldn't intuit what he was trying to say. Now I can hear, like, cement bunny slippers. So I get the context so I can figure out what the words are better. But as a kid, I was like, I have no idea what he said right there. Yes, this one, where you have to come up here, go past the vault to get that bottle, and then come back. Because if you jump down, you'll have to either grab the key and come back, or go through basically the entire level to get back to the vault.
Dial in 468.
Now, what do we get for our final vault in Mugshot's area?
It's Sir Andrew Cooper's thief replica technique.
Ah, another one that's probably even more worthless than the mine.
Confuse guards into attacking the wrong thing. Use the triangle button to put together a fake Sly Cooper.
This is another one where I'm like, I don't know how I'm supposed to use this. This feels like an idea that they had and put in the game, but had no real use for. Like, maybe the one level where you have to, like, actually stealth around even a tiny bit, which is, I think, the Boneyard Casino. That's the only time I could fathom this being useful, and you almost certainly have gotten this after completing that level. So, yeah, this again feels like a first game anomaly. Yep, clip through all that geometry. They specifically put the key over a collapsed section, so you're pretty much always going to sink down in there. Probably because it wouldn't make any sense for it to be on top of the wrecking ball, because otherwise, logically, the wrecking ball should have smashed the key, so put it just this side. It was interesting, that sound effect went off that generally signifies that an enemy is tracking you down, which is cool because it sounds like, you know, a slot machine going off. And that's why I thought that the enemy had was chasing me down, but yeah. Anyways, we've gotten all our treasure keys, now it's on to Muggshot. So right there, you can press L1 and repeat the dialogue with Bentley where he talks about Mugshot's face, which is funny because now the door's open. He's like, we can't get in.
What? My boys have been yapping about some big mysterious dude running around cracking skulls and this is it? You're the monkey wrench in my operation? Some scrawny rat with a stick. Alright, wait a second. I seen that stick before.
Maybe when my father knocked your block off with it.
Your father? Wow, you're a Cooper?
Which implies that the Fiendish Five could have taken Sly's cane like they took the Thievius Raccoonus, but they didn't, which is interesting.
What, are you kidding? You break into my place, steal my stuff, trash the joint. I feel transgressed and violated. Let's rock.
I always thought it was funny how he walked on his knuckles. Okay, this boss fight. So, as you can see from this first one, I am primarily trying to avoid fire by putting a crystal between myself and Muggshot. I am doing this the hard way. I feel like I go through this thing whenever I start this boss fight where I forget how it works. The trick is you can jump over his bullets. It's so much easier if you just jump over his bullets, because another thing is that if he shoots a mirror that you flipped around, it'll flip back. And this area, I'm not sure if it's possible to go without getting hit without jumping. Like right there, I was like, oh, how was I supposed to avoid that? Just jump, you idiot. I get kind of close, and that's another thing about this where it's like, well, you know, I walk in here, I have 2 lucky charms, I have 2 shots, and then if I die after that, every other try I get, I have only 1 health point, so eh. Right there, I tried to use the roll to get around, and we are jumping forward to another attempt where I finally remembered, oh yeah, I can jump. Although I believe he can shoot at you in the air, so you want to jump a little bit after he starts firing. Because then all of his shots should be near the ground. No comment this time, just going up to the top. And at this point, like this last part might be harder, but it's more consistent, so... Basically, if you can pass the second one and you even slightly remember how this third phase is done, you've pretty much won. Which, the trick here is to, after you flip a mirror, to not jump backwards onto that point that's right behind you. You cut the corner, because otherwise it'll take too long, and if he shoots at you and you're not behind a mirror, you're basically dead. And that's Muggshot done for.
Impossible. A little pipsqueak like you beating a big, strong bruiser like me? It ain't right. You want all of that stupid picture book? You're gonna have to go down to Haiti and cross paths with Miss Ruby. And then believe you me, you don't want to be you.
The Muggshot section of the Thievius Raccoonus contained an entry from my gunslinging ancestor, Tennessee Kid Cooper. His specialty was the rail walk and rail slide. Moves perfected through a lifetime of theft in the Old West.
I feel like all of the Sly ancestors that we met in Sly 4 look and feel differently from how they were portrayed in all 3 of the original trilogy.
Steroid case off to jail. That was the end of Muggshot.
I don't know, like, when I think of, like, Ryuichi, maybe I mentioned this with Ryuichi, but Tennessee Kid just reminded me. I don't know, I feel like Sly 4 was a lot of missed opportunities. And not the greatest decisions. Well, anyways, we finished Sunset Snake Eyes, so next time we'll be moving on to Haiti. And Murray is playing on a PS1 with that ad on screen. I will see you next time.